Welcome everybody to the New Fly Fisher. I'm your host, Colin McEwen. In today's show, I'm here on the Missouri River in beautiful Montana. It's late season. I'm here with Patrick Straub, and we're going to be talking about versatility, the versatility you need to match conditions. It's going to be a great show. I know you're going to learn a lot. Stay with us. That was awesome. These are extremely strong fish.
There you go. Oh, nice.
Oh yeah, good fish, good fish.
Yes. Got him.
Yeah! No! World record!
We talked earlier about having the optimum conditions. Here we've got perfect
example of the family Heptageneidae, very flat.
music, sweet music. This is why you need a lot of backing.
Today we're doing a drift boat trip down the world-famous Missouri River in Montana. This river is known for being an outstanding fishery for large brown and rainbow trout. People from around the world come because the fishing is incredible, as is the natural beauty. My guide is Patrick Straub, who is a very competent and popular guide who knows a lot about the Missouri River and this region. Patrick is a very amicable and engaging person, and he makes our trip down the river a real pleasure and learning experience. Also joining us is my good friend Norm Boland. Norm is fairly new to fly fishing from a drift boat, but is keen to see how effective it is for reaching holding water for big fish. The Missouri River is located in the northern part of Montana. Before we began our trip down the river, Patrick arranged for us to meet with some local experts who could discuss the Missouri and explain a little bit about why it is so popular.
The majority of fish out here are rainbow trout. That's the most dominant trout species. Brown trout are also here, and then whitefish would be the third most sought after, I would say. And then there's a smattering of other species, you know, carp, suckers, perch on occasion, some walleye, but very few. On average, in the upper river around Craig, there's around 3,000 to 3,500 rainbow trout per mile, and that's 10 inches and longer. Brown trout on average is around 500. Down in the lower river by Pelican Point, it's approximately 1,400 rainbow trout per mile, over 10 inches long, and brown trout's about 250 to 300 per mile. That's long-term average, and we have about 20 years of data for both sections.
All right, just to start off with, of course, it's a tailwater fishery, so it has sort of a biological niche of temperature that produces a lot of fish, and it's also flowing through some of the most gorgeous country that I can think of in this part of the world. So it's got a lot of popularity just for being here. And of course the fish that grows are pretty large and the insect hatches are pretty thick. So people like to come and fish for it.
One of the keys to success when fly fishing on big western rivers like the Missouri is to be versatile and ready to change at a moment's notice. Over the course of the day, we experienced a number of different weather fronts which dramatically impacted the way we fished. This is where having an experienced guide like Patrick really pays off. Patrick took some time to explain to us where the fish are holding in the river and why.
Right now we're fishing rigs for big brown trout, and we're fishing structure that those fish are going to be holding in. Big brown trout, in a sense, are lazy. They want to sit where they don't have to spend a lot of energy to get the bugs that they want to eat. So we're fishing tight to the banks here in the sense that those browns are holding off rocks, off little ledges, in spots where they can be the predators that they are. They sit in an area where they don't have to spend any energy, but stuff's going to come by them. So that's why we're fishing these tight structures, because those fish are holding in a little pocket or break or whatever that causes any break in that current, but still has current coming by it, so there's a soup line coming their way. They're in that shallow water, makes it easier for them to hold, but it also makes it a little bit better for us to get bugs to them because we can see them sometimes and they're holding on those banks. It gives us good structure, good targets to fish to. So it works to our advantage a lot of times because we see the structure, we see those holding lies that they're in. Sometimes we can see the fish. But for the most part, we're fishing tight to the banks because that's where those breaks and those currents are, and that's where those big bugs, those big hoppers may have blown off the bank, or if it's a big flightless stone, which occurs in abundance on this river, that's where those flightless stones are gonna hatch by, which is that structure on the bank. They're gonna hatch by those rocks and those weeds and things like that. That's a float right there, Colin. I usually recommend a pretty, not so much of a slow hook set, but just put some sort of movement into that fly line. You don't really need to have a real quick jerk of a hook set unless you have a lot of slack line out there on your drift. If you have a lot of slack, you need to move that rod fast, perhaps even strip with your line hand to get all that slack out there moving. If you don't have a lot of slack, just a gentle rod raise, almost like you're picking up to cast again, will set that hook. Especially with big fish and small tippets, if you jerk that rod, you're gonna pop that tippet off right away on that hook set. With bigger fish, oftentimes you'll see them come up, you'll see that mouth open up, and if you don't wait till you see that mouth close, you're gonna pull that fly right out of their mouths.
So the key is to really slow down and get over the buck fever as we were enjoying earlier on when we first got out in the boat here.
Yeah, it's kind of a patience issue, but it's really hard when you see a big old mouth that's about 4 inches across open up and suck in that dry fly. It's hard for people to have the patience to wait to set that hook. A lot of times, however, on this river, those bigger fish will suck in a hopper or a small dry, but while they're bringing that in, they take in a lot of water with that as well. So a lot of times you don't see the nose or the head at all. You just kind of see a dimple in the surface because they're sucking in a fair amount of water like that.
Oh.
Strip, 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 just like that. We're fishing there's 2 dry fly rig, a big hopper and a little ant below it. It's late. Hit him, set, strip, 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 strip.
Sorry.
He had a whack right
I know,
there.
stupid, eh?
What happens with this rig is that big hopper a lot of times will attract the fish, but because it's late summer and these fish have been fished to quite a bit, they may not eat the big bug, but they're going to eat the little one, like exactly just what happened right back there.
And it was my first cast. I wasn't paying enough attention.
Little
on the first
after
cast.
lunch blues.
Yeah.
It's the after lunch food coma. Yeah, that's a good drift there. On this river here, these fish tend to see a lot of flies, and so it's essential that we have those flies floating downstream first, so everything's coming back to us. Right there, that's a pretty good drift. And one way to maximize the length of your drift is to put a reach cast into that. And a reach cast is just as that was a good reach cast there, Norm. Keep that drift going. That'll be a good flow. A reach cast is when that loop of your fly line is straightening out. You slide your rod through the air across your body to put an in the air mend in that fly line, just as that loop's straightening out. So when you're drift fishing, especially from a drift boat, especially when you're fishing a bank, it's always a great idea to be able to have a good reach cast. If you can put a reach cast in there, those flies already land at that downstream angle that's so essential when you're fishing dry flies to fish that see a lot of pressure. We're gonna switch up and do some indicator nymphing, fishing some deep nips down below. We haven't had much success with fishing dries on the surface. Granted, we've had some hits and some eats, but it certainly has not been stellar. So we're gonna see if the fish are not moving much, and we got to get down there to them. So we're going to put on 2 weighted nymphs below an indicator and just fish deep nymphing. A good general rule for the depth to fish those nymphs with your indicator, and here we have a weighted fly and our indicator. A good general rule is 1.5 to 2 times the depth of the water that we're fishing. But it also depends on the speed of the current and the kind of bugs you want to fish.
So in this river, you have to keep adjusting the depth because you're getting quite a bit of variation, or
yeah, I like to
stretch your river pretty constant.
The depth varies, and I like to fish indicators that you can easily move and slide up and down the leader. So all I have right here is it's just a corky. It's just an indicator that you slip the leader through a hole and you slide the toothpick up through that hole. And when you're ready to change the depth that those weighted nymphs are fishing, you just pull the toothpick out and slide it up along that leader. Slide the indicator up the leader, put that toothpick in, and then you'll see that that's increased the depth that those weighted nymphs are going to be fishing. So say we're fishing water that is slow, those nymphs will have more time to get down because that current's not moving very fast. Those nymphs sink quicker. If we're fishing water that's faster, we want those nymphs to actually be fishing shallower below that indicator because those flies will get down a little bit quicker. And those flies right now, what those flies are doing is those flies are just floating just above the surface of the water. Sometimes they're banging structure and bumping along, and we're hoping that, like, give that a hit. Anytime that indicator dives down, we're hoping that that's going to be a fish. Because those flies are fishing so close to the bottom, sometimes it's, you know, hitting weeds, hitting rocks and things like that. But when you're deep nymphing like this, it takes a lot of imagination. And you have to just kind of guess when that's going to be a fish. A lot of times it can be obvious. If that indicator really dives down, really stops moving, most likely that's a fish. Especially if it starts moving upstream, it's a fish. And you set the hook just like you normally do with a dry fly. You raise the rod and you give a little strip. Just put movement into that fly line. There you go, he's on.
Yeah.
Good, he's gonna run a little bit.
I don't think he's too.
It's hard to tell, I saw a
Sometimes
fan,
they run later.
yeah, keep that tip
No, what
up.
happened was I just cast right in tight to the bank. Just
Keep
had a
a-
nice drift,
keep
and
a-
he just jumped up and took it.
Keep a little bit of tension, that's it. Let him run though when he wants to run. This is a decent sized bow.
Yeah.
Gonna ride him a little bit. Yeah, he was in that seam holding right there.
Right.
Strip, 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 strip. That's it.
Okay.
Fish on, baby.
It's just getting that drift. Getting that tag free.
He's got some spunk. Now slide his head up.
Yeah.
There we go. Pull him straight up. Nice bow.
All right.
All right. Beauty.
Decent fish.
Beautiful. Nice.
Nailed that little bitty bugmeister.
Yeah, that was nice.
One of the wonderful aspects of the West is the hospitality you receive. While in the region of the Missouri River, we had the pleasure of staying in the Rocking Z Ranch. This beautiful horse ranch is run by Patty and Zach Worth and their daughters. The food and accommodations are incredible. It is totally relaxing. You can go for a horse ride on one of the many trails, and best of all, they even have a small stream running right through the property, which is in it. If you truly want to enjoy a great fly fishing experience on the Missouri River and also take part in a Montana ranch, then I strongly recommend you contact the good folks at the Rocking Z Ranch.
Get a drift out of it too. Just be prepared for anything. When you're fishing tight to the bank like this with nymphs, you'll have to be aware that that indicator can signal anything. It can signal those flies bumping the rocks. It can also signal a fish. So anytime you think you're close to structure, just be aware of that. But also have in mind that fish hang near structure. And so there we go. That's a hit right there. That's a fish. That's a trout.
All right.
Good hook set.
That was a textbook
stripping.
take, wasn't it? Just you were describing to me how I got to look for every little nuance, every little bump, and to strike as soon as I see it. And right after you said that,
Good work.
the fly just hesitated slightly and set the hook.
That's
fish.
I think that's a trout. I think it's a live one. Yeah, nice
Oh,
jump.
Nice jump. Nice jump.
Good work. Good strips. Good rod tip angle. I can slide out into this. Let's take him to the left side of the boat.
Okay.
As soon as you feel that head give, you can pull him in, but as soon as he wants to take it, let him take it. Good work. That's a decent boat. That was a great jump.
Looks like he took the dropper.
Yeah, he ate that little dropper. It's a little tungsten pheasant tail nymph, about a size 20 actually.
Oh, a little dig. Now something that a lot of people...
Oh, great jump.
Nice. A lot of people don't realize is that, you know, these fish, they're not 24 inches, but they fight like they're 24 inches.
Yeah, this
and
is
that's
a good
because,
sized
well,
bow,
they're so
yeah.
strong here because of all the food, right?
Yep. Yeah, they get to eat a lot of food. That's why the bug that we're fishing is so small. Once you get his head up, Colin.
Yeah, he's just got around
can
and
slide him to
on
me.
me. I'll get his head up again.
There we go. Just skate that baby on in.
I should say I'm using a 5-weight rod here.
Keep skating, keep that head up.
And what's the tippet you have on the bottom?
We got 4X to the little pheasant tail. Decent little bow.
Yeah.
Isn't that beautiful?
Good work.
Okay, so let him go. Now, one of the things I know a lot of people would be interested in knowing about Patrick that we've been doing for the last hour or so is changing the presentation of this nymph rig relative to the water conditions. In other words, like right now we're in a little bit slower water and we're starting to get into faster water. So you're having me put the rig out at different angles off the bow or off the beam of the boat here. Could you talk a little bit about how that works and you know, how it affects the amount of I mend and where I'm mending?
Yeah, again, you want that indicator to float as natural as possible on the surface of the water. So if we're floating along and we're drifting about in water that's about the same speed as what the boat's floating in, you'll just need a good initial mend to set it up, get that line above it with a good upstream mend, and then just let it float. Just keep tracking it with that rod tip. As long as that fly line under your rod tip is moving at the same speed as the indicator, and that is accomplished by tracking that indicator with your rod tip. Again, pointing your rod tip at that indicator, following it down the stream. If we're floating at the same speed of water as that indicator is, it's going to drift fine. You won't need a lot of mends, a lot of line management. You won't need to feed a lot of slack. You can just kind of relax and just let it hunt and let it float. But there's basic skills that you have to master to be able to do that, and that is a good initial upstream mend and just track that indicator with the tip of your rod. We're coming on some nice flat water, shallow water here with some good riffle structure to it. We're going to switch up and fish a dry fly rig, thinking that these big browns are going to be up on this shelf feeding and looking for dries rather than nymphs. We've nymphed for quite a while. We've had some action, but it hasn't been stellar. We're fishing through different water now, so we're going to change how we're going to fish because, again, the versatility of a day on the Missouri this time of year is you got to be willing to change your tactics because you're fishing different water and different rigs, and those fish are in different spots eating different things. Okay. So we're going to switch to a peacock-bodied, big bushy dry fly, a rubber-legged bugmeister basically is what it is.
So it's a good attractor pattern, and then we'll just experiment to find out what they're coming up for, right?
Yep.
Okay, good. Let's do it.
Just along that edge. Great shot. Hit him.
Got him. Oh, nice fish, too.
Great stuff,
nice
Colin.
Fish. Oh, that was textbook.
That was great stuff.
Oh, I love that. And he came up, just porpoised on that baby.
Great patience on that hook set. I'll slide us right in here. We should be fine, as long as he doesn't run on us.
Can I get him on the reel here? He's going down.
We can always take him through these rapids if we have
look at
to.
that, look at that. Look at him go.
Nice fish. I think he's gonna hang for us right here.
Oh, this is exciting. This is great. This is a nice fish. This is what it's all about. I mean, look at around us. This is just incredible.
He's taking us upstream.
Yeah. So he's gone down. Now he's going up.
Great angle on that drift. Again, fly was first. Everything was perfect on that.
This is the most dangerous thing, of course, is going downriver chasing a fish. And you got too much line out and it puts too much pressure on that little hook. What size hook is that?
It's a 20. It's a size 20.
Size 20. And I think we had, what, 4X tippet on there?
That's 5. There's 5X tippet. We'll be fine. We're going to just ride him a little bit. Just remember to keep tension. He's probably going to be pretty deep.
Okay, he's hunkered down right here. There he is. Oh, he's got some weed on the
Yeah, he's
upper
got a
one.
little bit of salad on there.
Okay, here he goes.
Yeah, we're just gonna ride him through this faster water, Colin.
Okay, you got the head shakes, incredible head shakes. This guy's making us work.
Yeah, it's a good, decent sized bow.
Oh, this is outstanding.
Okay, now we just about got him wrangled. You'll notice, Colin, soon, once we get him out of that faster current, he'll be in an eddy here. It'll be a lot easier to control him.
Okay, there he is. Get some salad there. Oh, it's decent. Yeah, it is a decent fish. I thought he wasn't that big, but now I see him. He's got nice size. Come on.
Nice bow. Put some
Do you want to go over
cranks on
there
him.
and I'll bring him up in the...
He's ready. Just put some cranks on him. Crank, 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 crank.
Okay.
Keep that head up. Slide him right into me. Got him.
All right.
Nice
Woo!
henny.
All right. Oh, look at that. That's beautiful. It's amazing how strong they are for their size. They really are tremendous fighters. Beautiful. Okay. There he goes.
Nice bow.
That was beautiful. Nice call
Yeah,
on that ledge.
she gave us a good ride. We hooked her right back up there and she went all down in that current. She ate that little bitty trico, about a size 20. Trico done.
Well, we hope you enjoyed today's show. Versatility is key for any angler to be successful in the water. Patrick Straub gave us excellent advice throughout the day, switching from dry flies to nymphs and then back to dries, based on the conditions. If you get a chance to come see the wondrous beauty of Montana, I strongly recommend you call Patrick and arrange a float trip down the renowned Missouri River. It is something dreams are made of. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the water.
Hi, I'm Tom Rosenbauer. For videos like the one you just saw and more, subscribe to our channel. You don't want to miss our weekly uploads of educational videos, exciting trips, and much more.